Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathsala. My name is Mutum Silpa Devi. I am working as an assistant professor in the Department of Human Development, Avinasi Lingam University. So today we are going to discuss about responding skills. Counseling is more than often described as helping process in a professional way which requires certain specific skills to be mastered for it to be effective. These are attending skills, listening skills, and responding skills. In this session, we will be discussing about responding skills. Counseling, as we understand, is a process where the counselor helps the client to help themselves by gaining insight into their own problems. Counseling relationship is a therapeutic in nature, where the counselor's task is to heal the client sometimes, to remedy often, but to comfort them always. And effective communication is the key to a successful counseling. In the process of counseling, it is essential that the counselor attends to understand the client by observing and listening. But it is more important than the client knows that he is being heard, understood, and accepted. Responding skill is the ability to let the client know you can understand his perspectives and to communicate those understanding to him in an effective manner. Objective of these lessons will be to enable students to understand basic principles of responding, to help students develop the techniques of responding skills. Responding skills. What is responding skills? Responding skill is an ability to facilitate the client's exploration of where they are in relation to their world. By responding, we begin to communicate our understanding of the client's world. Another term for this kind of understanding and responding is empathy, empathic understanding. And the communication of such understanding is known as empathic responding. So, before attempting to understand the nature of responding skills, it is important to get an insight into the role of empathy in counseling. Many of the contributors in the field of counseling identified and agreed upon that empathy is one of the essential qualities a facilitative helper should possess. This quality, when defined and factor analyzed to formulate the distinct helper skills, responding was identified as the skill that could communicate accurate empathy. Empathy is an innate quality and it is not a skill that one possesses at varying degrees. It is the ability to feel or understand by entering into one's personality until some state of identification is achieved. It is the fundamental process of identifying one's self with the other person. Through this process, we see how the client sees his world through his point of view. Thus, the counselor concentrates on understanding the counselee's frame of mind and her context and how she feels and why she feels that way. Next comes importance of empathy in counseling. Empathy helps us to enter into the counselee's frame of reference to accurately understand how she experiences the world, her needs, her personal reserve, etc. Empathy communicates the counselor's understanding of the client, and this fact alone might increase the client's self-esteem, since the counselor is willing to struggle to understand the client, which let the client feel that, oh, I am understandable, I am important enough for this person to struggle to understand me. And next is it allows us to integrate the message from non-verbal and verbal communication as to make meaning. It allows us to check the accuracy of our own perception. It allows the counselee to know that we understand her inner feelings. It stimulates growth in the relationship. Empathy to maintain an alienate position in the face of someone who is showing you profound understanding at a very personal level. Responding to feelings invades client's psychic wounds. The process of empathy helps to focus on the client's surface and underlying feelings and help the client aware of these feelings. It helps to organize the inner world and understand. Becoming aware of feelings which are earlier denied by the client is the first step in taking responsibility for them and their implications. It stimulates further and deeper exploration on the part of the client. When the counselor shows that she understands the feelings and thoughts being expressed by the client, a natural step for the client seems to be unfold ever deepening levels of his understanding and awareness. Now we are going to see the type of responses and their nature in helping situations. There are 5 types of responses we use in our day-to-day interactions to communicate our understanding with others based on the underlying intentions. Those are evaluative, interpretative, supportive, probing, understanding. Each of these alternative ways of responding, which is abbreviated, is called as SPU, is helpful at one time or another with varying degree. So the first one we will see about the evaluative response. It is a type of response intended to convey the responder's judgment as to the relative goodness, rightness, or appropriateness about what the person has done or ought to do. These are the most common responses people usually make when trying to help others. For example, you should not have done that. I don't approve of what you are doing, or it is better you change that, etc. These responses communicate an evaluative, corrective, and suggestive intention to solve any problem. Though sometimes it is relevant and helpful, but most often it retards the development of understanding. And being evaluative can be threatening to many and make them defensive. When people become defensive, they tend to close off their minds and reject ideas and advice, resist the influences, and stop exploring the problems. Moreover, giving advice and passing judgment often communicate that the helper is assuming that her judgment is superior than the client. In counseling, this type of responding is not likely very helpful, especially during early stages when exploration of the problem is very much essential. However, evaluative and judgmental response can be given empathically. For example, instead of "you resent her criticism," this is an evaluative or judgmental as it can be given as, "If I understand you correctly, you feel pretty resentful toward her criticism. Is that right?" So this is an example. Next response is interpretative response. Interpretative response are mostly used with the intention of teaching. Respondent intends to impart some psychological knowledge on using interpreting responses by telling what the problem means and how the speaker is feeling about the situation. Interpreting responses attempts to point out some hidden reasons for their behavior and feelings. For example, the reason you are upset is because so and so. It is mostly used with the intention to provide some additional insight through an explanation. However, this type of responses often make people defensive again. It discourages to reveal more thoughts and feelings for the fear of being more analyzed. Most people react negatively when someone implies that they know more about us than we do. So it is better to let the person think and try to reason out the problem themselves instead of we figuring it out for them. Next is supportive response. The supportive response is intended to encourage, reassure, or minimize the intensity of feelings. For example, "Don't be upset, everything will be better." We often use these supportive responses when we try to help others, and such responses are generally intended for understanding. But frequently, these responses end up communicating the lack of interest and understanding. While rushing up with this kind of responses, the responder sends an unintended message of saying that the person should not feel as the way she or he is feeling or doing. Next one is probing responses. Probing by asking question is a response with the intention of getting more information and further involved to help others. Probing is very useful response in helping others explore themselves if utilized correctly. Usually, it is advisable to use open questions rather than closed ones. For example, what do you feel about your work? Instead of just asking, do you like your job, which limited their answers. The counselor should ask open questions, let the client explore more about their thoughts and feelings and encourage to share it. However, asking judging question is not helpful again, such as, why did you do that? Because it indicates disapproval or criticism which make person defensive. Instead of demanding justification, it is more helpful to use 5 WH questions. The questions of who, what, where, when and how. For example, what happened, who were there, why and how did it happen, when did it happen, and where did it happen. This type of questioning make people be more specific, precise and revealing. It is also communicates the responder's genuine interest in helping. The next response is understanding response. The understanding response indicates the intention of understanding the thought and feeling of the person. It is reflected in the helper's responses. It is assure the helper's genuine interest in trying to understand his perspective. It is similar with paraphrasing response. There are 3 situations in which understanding responses is used. They are when helper wants to clarify his understanding of client's thoughts and feelings. Next one is when helper wants the client to hear what he just said. Next is when helper needs to assure that he is trying to understand the client. So, understanding response is perhaps the most useful type of response in counseling process, since this is the form of response which can communicate empathy accurately. However, all the types of responses which we have discussed earlier have a useful place in counseling. A counselor should be able to use them all depending on the needs with the flexible selectivity. In the rapport building phase of counseling, it is essential to use mostly understanding responses. In confrontational phase, the evaluative response can be used without sounding too judgmental. In crisis counseling, the supportive responses is needed. Throughout the counseling process, the understanding response is the most important and is used dominantly by the counselors along with the probing response. So the next is about the strategies or techniques of the responding skills. A skillful counselor responds to the content, feeling, and meaning of the client's expression. Counselors respond to the content in order to bring the clarity in the client's experiences. Responding to the feeling is to clarify the effect attached to that experience, and responding to the meaning is to clarify the reason for the feelings. First one we'll discuss about the responding to content. As content refers to the client's experience, counselor respond to understand the important elements of the client's experiences. This element of content highlights the probing of 5 WHs, which earlier we talked about: who, what, why, when, where, and how. Who and what was involved? What did they do? Why and how did they do it? When and where did they do it? After understanding these elements, counselor responds by rephrasing the client's expressions. Example: Client: I thought things were good with my friend. that is who, the friend is who, but we fought, that is what, over this silly thing frequently when I already apologize. I am sure I didn't forget his birthday on purpose. That is why, the reason. I was just very busy that day. How? At home. Where? So the responses which the counselor can give here is, in other words, you thought your friend would understand your absence and forgive easily. A good format for responding to content is, you are saying so and so. In other words, and so and so. Responding to content facilitates the exploration process and provides missing information. If any elements is missing in the client's expression, the counselor has to counter-check with the 5W height. The counselor should probe to get a complete picture of their experiences. To encourage client exploration, however, the counselor must continue to respond and refrain from initial reflex to ask a series of questions. During the exploration stage, the focus should be on responding to what the client is saying, not what we want them to say. The counselor may use questions to fill in the certain gaps later. So the next comes responding to feelings. The feeling of a client is their affective experience in relation to their world. People express their feelings differently. Some may express verbally and directly those feelings that dominate them, or others may express their feelings indirectly through their tone of voice or by describing the situation in which they find themselves in. By responding to the feelings client expresses, the counselor shows his understanding of the client's frame of reference. It is important to note that it provides an opportunity for the client to check the counselor's effectiveness as helpers. Therefore, it is important to use the skill accurately. So, how do the counselor respond to the feelings? To respond to feelings, counselor must observe client's behavior, the tone of their voice, their postures, and facial expression. Next, to listen carefully to the client's word. Then counselor should ask this question himself in order to understand the client's world. If I was this person and if I were to be in this situation, what the client is describing, how would I feel? Then the counselor must summarize what he has seen and heard with a response that indicates the client's feeling. In order to respond, first identify the general feelings, that is maybe happy, angry, sad, confused, scared, fear, all this, etc. And the intensity of those feelings, like how it is high, medium or low. Then choose a feeling word to respond that fits the feeling category as well as the level of intensity. So identification of right feeling which fits the correct level of intensity is quite difficult. Then in order to get that accurate feeling word, categories of feelings with the level of intensity given by Kharkov can be of reference. Categories of feelings, Kharkov. So when we have general feelings that happy, sad, anger, scared, confused, strong, weak, etc. When the level of intensity is high, it is tend to have the excited, that hopeless, furious, fearful, bewildered, and then potent, overwhelmed, elated, depressed, sitting, afraid, trapped, stupor, impotent, overjoyed, devastated, enraged, threatened, troubled, powerful, vulnerable. All these words we can use. And then level of intensity, when it is medium, it can be a cheerful, upset, agitated, itchy, disorganized, energetic, incapable, up, distressed, frustrated, insecure, mixed up, confident, helpless, good, sorry, irritated, uneasy, awkward, capable, insecure. All these are in the level of medium. Then when it is again it is low, it comes as somewhat glad, down, uptight, timid, bothered, sure, shaky, content, low, dismay, unsure, uncomfortable, secure, unsure, satisfied, bad, annoyed, nervous, undecided, solid or bored, etc. So example of responding to the feelings, we will take an example that Ravi is the client. So he is saying that things are not going so well for me, not with the study, not with my friends. I am struggling. I fake it every day, but inside I am really tired because I am not sure of what I want to do and where I want to go. So the key point to his feeling is that he feels down about his study, about his relationship with his friends, and he is also struggling to pretend that he is fine, he is okay. What would you feel if you were Rabi? I would feel sad because the intensity of feeling down for various reasons is quite intense. So you can respond as you feel upset or sad, you feel unsure. So responding to the meaning, next one. So meaning here refers to the combination of client's feelings and content together again here. Content is used to make the feeling meaningful with intellectual meaning to the client's expression of their experiences. Likewise, feeling gives emotional meaning to the client's expressions of their experiences. So, responding to meaning emphasizes making interchangeably responses that capture both the feeling and content of the expression. How do counselors respond to the meaning then? Counselors have to note that the response to meaning must be enriched by combining the feeling together with the content for clients. In order to get it right, counselor must understand every feeling is prompted by some cause. Regardless of the apparent nature of the causes, whether it is irrational or rational, of a particular client's feelings, each of these feelings will always have sufficient reason for the client to feel it. Feelings are about content, such as happy about being awarded, angry with the teacher for giving a low grade. So, therefore, a response to meaning is not complete until it communicates both the feeling and content. For example, let us continue with the Rabi's expression quoted earlier. Things are not going so well for me, not with the study, not with my friends. I am struggling, I fake it every day, but inside I am really tired because I am not so sure of what I want to do and where I want to go. So, your response to the meaning would be, you are saying that you feel upset. That upset is feeling because nothing seems to be working out for you. That is the content. Or you can say as nothing seems to be working out for you now, content, and you feel sad, feeling, that is feeling. Both the responses capture the meaning of the feeling and content of Rabi's expression. A counselor can use either response interchangeably to communicate his understanding with the client. Likewise, you feel unsure, that is feeling, of what you can do about it, content, or you don't know what to do, that is content, and you are confused, that is feeling, are another example of responding to the meaning. So, counselor may also respond with a question to stimulate the client for deeper exploration. To respond with a question, the counselor simply responds first either to the content alone or to the feeling and content, then formulates a related questions about the situation using one of the 6 basic interrogative, that is 5WH. For example, you are saying that your relationship with your friend is not going well. How long has this been going on? Followed by, did anything happen at that time? To sum it up, counselor has to reflect back to the counselee in paraphrase form of what the counselor hears, particularly the person's dominant feelings. By responding, the counselor begins to communicate his understanding of the counselee's experience. The counselor has to respond to both content and feeling. The counselor must communicate his understanding to the counselee of a specific feelings, experience, and the reason for that. So to conclude with this responding skills, this module has given you an insight of responding skills and its unique characteristics. Responding skill is one of the most important skills which helps client in the process of exploration if used effectively. In order to use responding skills accurately, counselor has to pay special attention to the following things in the process of responding. Attend physically, observe and listen carefully. Give yourself time to think and integrate what you have seen with what you have heard. Identify the appropriate feeling word that fits the level of intensity of the client's feeling. Confirm the feeling word with your observation of the counselee to see if it fits his condition. Find the reason for the feeling in the content expressed by the counselee. The reason is the meaning the content has for the counselee. Summarize and reflect back in a paraphrase form. Do not parrot. Use short sentences. First respond to content and then to feeling. Note that a response is not complete until it communicates both feeling and content. Attend to all major feelings and content. Always remember, essential element in responding is to communicate correct understanding to the client. Thank you.